respectful of everyone's time. So welcome everyone. I'm glad you could join us for our September North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance meeting. We will start with our introductions as we usually do. And I'm just going to go down my screen and start with Holiday.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Holiday with USDA Rural Development. You all know me. I work with the tribes here in North Dakota.
Great.
Generally.
And Craig.
Craig Burns, Assistant Professor of Social Work at UND in Grand Forks.
And Karen.
Karen Ahrens, Coordinator, Creating a Hunger-Free North Dakota Coalition.
And Jill Hawkinson.
Hi, Jill Hawkinson, Community Development Specialist with USDA Rural Development out of the Devil's Lake office, and I'm also the USDA Beginning Farmer Rancher Coordinator for the state.
Great. And Jamie.
Jamie Good here, North Dakota Department of Ag. Everybody knows who I am. I've worked with all of you before, so.
And Molly, are you with us?
I am.
Welcome. And would you like, we are giving introductions.
Okay. Hi, I'm Molly McLean. I'm currently working with Dakota West Arts Council and have a long time been passionate about local foods. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. And Bill is trying to join us as well, so I'm just going to take a minute to let him in. And while I'm doing that, if you have any additions to the agenda, if you would just take a look through the agenda and let me know if there's any additions.
And this is Molly, just a note, I guess not an addition to the agenda, but I am late with the minutes, so we may have to approve those minutes retroactively at next month's meeting for last month. And my apologies.
And that is not Molly's fault at all. That's my fault. I didn't get her the recording until just this morning.
No problem. We can both feel North Dakota guilty about it.
Be guilty together. Okay, any updates or additions to the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Karen Ahrens moves to approve the agenda.
And a second?
This is Craig, I'll second.
Thank you, Craig. Oh, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And the agenda is approved. Yeah, as Molly said, we don't have written minutes for you to approve. What we have is a link to the recording, which I'm not gonna play for you now, but you are welcome to listen to the recording if you so choose, or wait for Molly to get the recording summarized in written form. Do I need to call for a motion to move the minute approval to next month, or do we just do it?
Just do it.
Okay, so we will approve the minutes retroactively next month. And just a reminder, you can always, assuming that I have gotten things updated, you can always find the agenda and the minutes or recording from the last meeting on our website, farms.org/NDLFDA. You can also register to get the login for the meetings. You can read the North Dakota Local Food Plan, and you can submit your updates and read other folks' updates on that page as well. So we have good news. We have been approved for an AmeriCorps position. The MOU has been signed. Megan and I are working on getting the bank account set up so that she can pay the cost share to Souris Basin Planning Council. So I have an AmeriCorps position created. And I've sent it to Randy at Souris Basin Planning Council. So I think they do a step where they upload it to their AmeriCorps application website where they take applicants. But we'll be more successful if we are also publicizing, promoting, and recruiting the position as well. So before I go live with the position, I wanted to share it all with you, make sure that this is the position that the position duties are the things that you all wanted our coordinator to be doing, and to see if you have any comments or additions. So I guess I'll just go through the position and then leave a little time for questions and comments. So this is an AmeriCorps position through Souris Basin Planning Council's team, or they have about 20 positions that they can give out to nonprofits throughout the state. So this is a part-time position. It comes out to about 15 hours per week. AmeriCorps is measured in terms of total hours completed within the service period. So this is a position that's up to 675 hours, and these hours have to be put in before September 15th, 2021. That's the end of the current service period. So the member will receive up to $8,775 total, which is about $13 an hour. And this information is coming from Souris Basin Planning Council's website. They have a little slideshow that gives an overview of their AmeriCorps program, which includes the 2020-21 program benefits. So we are under the third column, 675 hour member. So that is where my information came from. So this will be a remote work position. They will, I'll be their supervisor, so I will bring them into the farms team. They're paid by AmeriCorps, so we won't be doing their payroll, but everything else, the day-to-day supervision, I'll make sure they're included in any, staff meetings, team building activities, things like that. So I'll make sure they have a family, a work family, which would be farm staff. And they will take care of member enrollment, outreach, and coordination and communications for NDLFDA, doing hopefully a lot of the things that I'm currently doing. I would like them to be setting up an enrollment and membership fee process. And as a board, we've discussed, and as a membership organization, the consensus has been that everyone's in favor of an enrollment process and a small membership fee that indicates that you are a member of NDLFDA. So this position would help to develop that, get that set up, and then enroll members, manage the membership list, and recruit new members and create recruitment materials, provide those to those of us who are already participating so that we can recruit other organizations. They would compile maybe a messaging document that explains, so that we have something that explains our mission, who we are, and what we do. And that can be used on social media and our website. They can post information about our activities to our website and social media pages and keep that information current and make sure that posting happens regularly. And when I refer to the website, currently it's this. There's also funding in our Consensus Council grant to hire somebody to build a new website so that NDLFDA has control of its own website. This website that we have is reliant on Farms. You have to log into Farms's Wix account to update it. And so just, you know, if something were to happen to me or something, I win the lottery and move to Tahiti, we want NDLFDA to have autonomy over its own website. Where was I? And then just ongoing communications and coordination. You know, helping to create the monthly meeting agendas, sending out communications to everybody about the monthly meetings, meeting reminders, requesting updates from everyone and sharing those updates. Identifying and sharing resources of interest, such as articles, data on local foods, grant opportunities, coordination and outreach for any webinars or workshops or events that we might have, and we'll discuss that later in the meeting. But, you know, in the past, we've held local food summits or Breakfast of Champions. And then assist in updating the North Dakota Local Food Strategic Planning document. And then as an AmeriCorps member, they're required to participate in some trainings that AmeriCorps puts on. They're required to participate in AmeriCorps days of service, such as MLK Day, and some other days that Service Basin Planning Council might host. So I've added those in. So that was a really quick run through. I'm going to open the floor for any questions about this position, places where I wasn't clear in the description, or other things that you think this person should be doing for us. And you can use the chat box or just unmute yourself and speak.
I think it looks like a good opportunity for someone to learn how to manage a group, build a membership base, provide information, research information. I think that part will be very beneficial to the organization and also to the volunteer.
Thank you, Karen. Does enrollment and recruitment, outreach and coordination and communications cover all of our bases?
Well, you have that phrase, other duties as assigned.
Yes, we do. It's a dangerous phrase. Okay. Well, you're welcome to shoot me an email if you have other comments. Otherwise, I'm going to post this position this afternoon and send it out to all of you and with a request that you share it with your networks. And unless I hear otherwise from Service Basin Planning Council, I'm just going to ask that applicants submit a resume and cover letter and 3 references to info@farms.org. So thank you. Fame and somebody on the phone have joined since we did introductions, so I'll give you each an opportunity to introduce yourself. Fame, would you introduce yourself? I will skip ahead to the person on the phone.
That might be me, Megan, or Stephanie, Bill Davis, Farms Board.
Thanks, Bill. Fame, it looks like you're unmuted. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sorry about that. It went to a bunch of different pages. I'm Fame. I am a social worker and currently an intern with the Council of Farmers Market.
Welcome, Fame. Okay, so moving forward with our agenda, for the past several sessions, we've been working our way through the local food plan. Last month, we talked about support for producers on page 15. So the next section is continuing on the elements of a local food systems master plan. And Chuck was discussing the different types of food products that are produced. And so my thought was that we could just take a quick look at those. And I think, you know, the state of our state has changed since this food plan was created. Together we could look at these, you know, dairy, fish, fruit, red meats, etc. And how has production of each of these products changed since this was written? So starting with dairy, he felt that what is needed is design of a milk processing facility that may not have all the bells and whistles of supersized processing facilities, but can still meet the requirements of health department regulations. Same is needed for the production of cheese and butter. So, you know, what have you all been seeing in the past several years around dairy production? Is it true that dairy production is declining in our state? Holiday's saying yes.
I would say yes as well. This is Molly.
I'm not sure if Bessie's Best had started yet when this was written, but then I've recently heard that they retired and they're no longer. I know there's Van de Baaf Dairy by Carrington that's producing gelato. I can't remember what their gelato name is.
It's Dorchessa Gelato, and they also got an APUC grant to be doing some other things. So I think we should keep our eyes on what that family's up to, because I foresee some big things coming from them. So
I was pleased to see that they had partnered with Molly Ye, who lives at Grand Forks and is a Food Network personality who lives right here in North Dakota. And I think she was doing some cookies for like a ice cream, gelato cookie sandwich product that they were doing at the Red River Market. And I've long thought that I've felt like we've got this Food Network personality right here in North Dakota. Why isn't there more of a connection between Molly Yeh and local foods? So I was happy to see Duchessa partnering.
The only reason I was shaking my head in agreement was because of interviews that I did at the Minot State Fair a couple of years ago at the dairy exhibit, talking with dairy farmers, and they mentioned to me the difficulty they're having with finding successors. Their children weren't really interested in taking up the dairy farming because it's just plain hard work, and the rewards apparently aren't that substantial. So, but I really don't have a lot of information about it, only from conversations with dairy farmers there.
I think dairy farmers in our state were impacted by the large change in a major multi-state retailer who took over their own dairy purchases and production, and then changes at the national or multinational corporation level that are impacting our local farmers, as I understand it. And we only have so much control over that. But if we as local food people can work toward keeping, attracting, supporting small regional local growers who are not part of these multinational corporations, then they would be less susceptible to the changes in their practices, but also would have to be more reliant upon our local population to support them.
Just a final comment about dairy. At I think it was last year at the National Farm Viability Conference in Red Wing, Minnesota, somebody made a comment that nationwide dairy production, large-scale dairy production consumption is declining, and so large-scale dairy production is taking a hit. And so their recommendation was that for dairy farmers to be successful, they needed to start approaching the niche markets, like the specialty cheeses, the Duchessa gelato, the small scale, higher quality, smaller batch niche dairy products, which is what many of our local food producers tend to do. What about fish? This is kind of a unique food product. He's talking about fish production co-located with North Dakota electrical generating plants, raising rough fish for feed in potholes while commercial fish are grown indoors, and aquaculture practices. So I know Dakota College at Bottineau has an aquaponics production degree program and facility on campus. And we actually have had several interns who are through DCB who are really passionate about developing aquaponic systems, as well as Robert Barfield, who often participates in these meetings. Any other comments about fish production?
I know Dakota College at Bottineau, Keith has been working, this is Jill, Keith has been working with the Spirit Lake Food Distribution, and they are working on some aquaculture projects too. So it is an interesting kind of could be some interesting endeavors. And for indoors, it's an opportunity because in North Dakota, everybody knows you have to have a pretty deep lake in order to keep your fish alive over winter. So
Mhm. I wonder what the barriers to entry are in relation to actually selling the fish for food.
that's the issue, I think, is that I don't believe you have to sell it live, as I understand it. Jamie, you maybe know more on that subject, or
He said in the chat that he had a phone call. He may still be on his call.
sure. Yeah, I think you do have, does anybody else know? I think you have to sell them live. I don't think you're allowed to process them yourself.
Well, I've done this. I did this for 5 years with a friend, but I did it in New Mexico and not in North Dakota, so I'm not aware of the regulations here. And we had a good relationship with the Chinese market in Albuquerque, and they would come and pick up the fish live, so we didn't have to clean them. The problem with cleaning them is it's so labor intensive. In fact, the whole process of aquaponics is very labor intensive. I see advertisements for aquaponics systems on the web, and they suggest, and I think it's a misrepresentation, that it doesn't require that much hands-on. You could just feed them in the morning, in the afternoon, and that's it. But it's really it takes a lot of monitoring. It's so easy for the fish to die if the nitrate levels get too high or the oxygenation of the water isn't sufficient. It's a very difficult business, and to keep the chemical harmony between the fish and the effluent that you're using for the plants that you're growing is a very, very difficult thing to do. A lot of balancing there is required, and a lot of choosing the proper varieties of plants that you're growing, vegetables that can subsist with the different nitrate levels in the water, pH levels. It's a hard thing to learn. I know Keith is becoming a master of this, but it's not an easy thing to do. I'd rather just grow plant. Having done that for 5 years, I'd rather just grow fish and plants separately and not try that symbiotic relation anymore. It's just kind of a challenge. But the problem is the marketability of the fish that we grow here. The fish come in from Asia, from Southeast Asia, and they're very, very inexpensive per pound. And so it's difficult with all of the inputs that you have on our side to kind of match what they do in Southeast Asia. And then when you add to it the cleaning of fish and packaging, it becomes very kind of expensive, and it's hard to compete with the cheap tilapia that come over from Southeast Asia. That's my experience. Is Keith on? No?
Keith sent me an email earlier. That reminds me. He sent me an email that he is unavailable because he has class at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And his request was that we find a new meeting time.
That's a shame. Maybe next time he can give us his experience, what he's experiencing with his aquaponics facility.
Yeah, maybe we can set up a call with him or something.
He has a smaller setup that's for educational purposes. The one that I visited a few times at Dakota College, it's just kind of to learn the principles. It's not really a commercial setup.
Yeah, they have a setup in a greenhouse that students use to learn about how
Mhm.
systems work.
He's not trying to grow thousands of fish at one time.
Mhm.
No, it's just a couple of dozen I saw last time I was there.
Let's just go through fruit and red meats and then leave the remaining products for the next session. So fruit was the next topic area. And Chuck referred to the North Dakota Department of Ag's Community Orchard Program, which he recommended be continued and expanded. Also, greenhouse space at NDSU should be made available for fruit and vegetable trials. The ECH should continue its work in vegetable production and increase its efforts in fruit production. And then he mentioned NDSU Carrington's Research Extension Center with the Northern Hardy Fruit Project that Kathy Wiederholt runs. I know there has been interest in berry production in recent years. Aronia was really popular for a while. Any other comments about fruit? Jamie, are you still on your phone call? Do you have any comments about the community orchard program? Are you getting a lot of good interest?
So I am off my phone call. I sure hope I was on mute when I was on my phone call. I looked down and at one point my mic was on, so I hope I wasn't disturbing you guys with my phone call. But no, so the one thing we're seeing with the community orchard grants as of the past couple application rounds is just being honest, they're not very good. And there aren't as many as there used to be. So I don't know if we have sort of tapped out all the low-hanging fruit, no pun intended. But that's just being a very honest general observation, is that the last couple rounds have not been very good. And some of the projects we've really had to kind of work with to get them done. I don't want to point to, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I get things happen, things come up, but that program was going super strong. We had some really great applications, and then all of a sudden it just kind of plateaued a little bit. So I know we did a round of very large dollar orchard grants, and even at that we had 5 applications and we funded 4 projects, and one of them just was not a good application. So, I would have thought if we were, handing out $20,000 to put an orchard in, and we were even allowing you to have it put in by a professional nursery, that we'd had all sorts of applications. And I know we had a short time frame. There were other reasons, but we're going to continue. I think we're continuing. We do see value in that, but just kind of throwing that out there as a group that, I think when applications come up, that for us to continue to keep putting dollars towards it, we need to have some good quality applications come in the door. So.
Hi, Jamie. Does the department provide any education or information or ways, referrals to other groups who might provide education for folks who may want to, so that their applications and efforts could be improved? Or is this something the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance could do, provide education, and if the department is not able to do that?
So I think that, I do try to, if somebody calls me up and asks a question, I'm more than happy to work with them, kind of mentor them or give them suggestions of where to go. We have our orchard manual that was developed that's been, I've been here 7 years, and that was here right before I got here. So I mean, that's 8 years ago. We revised that here 2 years ago. So we do offer that up as a resource for folks to kind of look at. We highlight a couple the Annette project, which was really great, and the Cheyenne project. So we do offer up resources, but I mean, certainly if there's groups out there like the Local Food Development Alliance that want to, help kind of foster somebody along, it'd be great to have a person to refer people to, because I don't mind helping people out, and I'm okay doing that because I don't score the applications, and that's why I don't score the applications, because I really talk to a lot of people. But I know what you're saying, Karen, and it's a challenge. It's kind of like the specialty crop block grant too. We'd like to try to get newer applications, and we're trying some new things there. So I mean, there's always opportunities for
you fund
education.
the orchard project in Cannonball couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago?
We did one in Sitting Bull down there. There's one that they did apply for one. I think, we funded some special crop projects down there. Cannonball did apply for an orchard grant. They just didn't get it accepted. And I do go back through and, those that didn't, receive an application, didn't receive funding, try to, if you have questions, please call us. We're happy to share. I've shared comments back to them as far as we always have a committee that reviews the grants. I, always open to share that feedback back with an applicant who didn't receive it. And we always try to encourage them to reapply,
Yeah, I know that in Cannonball, the Extension Service planted 50 to 80 trees, orchard, fruit trees, and I was wondering where that funding came from, whether it came from your department or not.
Yeah, I don't know where they got that funding from, but it was not us. But like I said, we did one down in Sitting Bull, which turned out really nice.
A couple of years ago at Spirit Lake, when we did the Tribal Local Foods Conference there, we had the orchard manager from the Carrington Research Center come and speak, and she was the highlight, in my opinion, of the whole conference. She brought research with her, and I'm sorry I don't have it with me here. It's in my office on Rosser, but do you know her name? I forget her name, but it was just so fascinating, to hear her describe the different kinds of fruit trees that they're growing and the success that they've had there in Carrington with some, and others weren't quite as good. Really, I would love to hear from her again. And I can't even remember her name.
That's Kathy Wiederholt.
I think that's her, yeah.
And she keeps a great Facebook page current as well, with photos of the current, what they're harvesting, what stages the fruit trees are at, what pests they might be dealing with, because her mission is educating people.
Yeah, oh, she's really good. I just really enjoyed her presentation. I could have listened to her all day long.
She is wonderful. Since it's 2:40, I'm going to move along with our agenda. So thank you for your input about dairy, fish, and fruit. I think these are just, we have this in the notes and on the recordings, and when we are ready to provide updates to this document, we'll delve deeper into these discussions, but this gives us a starting point on how things may have changed in food production over the past couple of years. So I did want to take a few minutes to talk about what sorts of educational opportunities you want from North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance. Once we have a coordinator in place, we will have more bandwidth to revisit some of the educational activities that that we have been doing. And after this, I will have a question about fruit trees in Grand Forks from Craig. So I want to make sure, Craig has to get going. I want to make sure that I don't forget to address his question in the chat. But first, okay, so we have had a local food summit kickoff event in October 2018 held in partnership with North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association. We've had a food hub huddle up in spring of 2019, where I think some food hub experts were brought in to share. And I wasn't actually present at that, so I'm all my information is secondhand on those, but I'm going off the notes that Megan left. And then we had plans to have a Breakfast of Champions series. We did have one session where we brought in North Dakota Farmers Union Insurance to talk about health insurance for farmers. And the plan was to have topics on agricultural wellness, which would be mental health for farmers, especially during economic crises, health insurance, which we did have, crop and production insurance, what add-ons or approaches can be taken, and agricultural marketing. Again, these are the notes that Megan had in the document in our drive. So that is what we have done. What educational topics would you like to see addressed over the next 12 months? And I'll take this information back to the board, and from your input, we will decide, whether to do Breakfast of Champions again, or to have an in-person summit or a virtual summit, or just what kind of, once we know the topics, then we can decide on the delivery method. So I have created a little poll using a tool that Karen put me onto called Slido. We'll take just a minute. You can vote now. Well, it's not really voting, it's typing your response in. So you can click add response, and then it lets you type in. If you think of things later, this poll is also embedded in your website, and it works just as well there.
So when I click add response, it doesn't really do anything. So what am I doing wrong? Anything?
You didn't get a thing that says type your answer?
No. So I'll come in later, I guess, and do it, not to hold everybody up on this, but.
Has anybody else given it a try? And Holiday, you can always put your response in the chat box too.
Okay.
I'm gonna type your response in, Holiday. So is it working for everybody else? Is anybody else having problems with it? Oh, good. Okay. Somebody said presence at the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association conference, perhaps a breakout session about what we're doing. Year-round greenhouses, how local foods promote food security. And then the last three were ones that I had seeded the poll with: food hubs, agricultural wellness, and tribal food sovereignty. Although I am interested in all three of those topics. Holly's adding hydroponics. Dehydration, that's a great one, Holiday. I know that Holly Mobby started doing freeze drying, which takes special equipment. And it's a great way. I've also been seeing posts from Linda Black Elk about traditional ways to dry foods, especially because people have been complaining about shortages of canning equipment, canning jars and lids this year. So people are turning to dehydration instead. Okay. Fermentation and other preservation methods. Great. So I will leave that up. That's going to be live for a week. That's as long as the Slido free plan would allow me to leave it up. So if you have other suggestions, please make them by next Monday. And after that, the poll will, I don't know, deactivate. So thank you for your input. Fame, I'm going to let you share. Okay, Craig said, we are trying to find a source of fruit trees for the Grand Forks Community Orchard. Does anyone on the call have any leads? And Fame will have more details. Thank you, he said. Fame, would you like to share more about the Grand Forks Community Orchard?
Sure. We had put in an order for 10 trees in December, and just the back and forth with emails and COVID and all of the extenuating circumstances came to August, and the people that we had ordered the trees from said, we don't have any fruit trees, you want to come in and talk. And so now we're kind of scrambling to make sure that we can get something in the ground. Many of the places that I've contacted, though, are running out of trees already at this point and unable to order anything. I'm currently waiting to hear back from a local landscaping company to see if they can get us some trees, fruit trees, and so really just hitting roadblock after roadblock. And having put some bushes in originally when we first got the grant that were all eaten by rabbits. And so learning experience all around for sure.
Even me. So does anybody?
Just looking for any sort of leads on anything. Willing to drive if we need to, but yeah.
So Fame, this is Jamie here. I had put some feelers out for you, and I will try to reach out to a few more folks that might have some access to possibly some stock, but I understand it's just seems like that's just kind of the world we're in right now, where supplies on lots of things are in short. You know, I bought.
I expected it to be this in demand, I'm sure, going into the year. So
Yeah, I bought 3 2x4s at the store to finish up a tree house, and they cost me $15 for $16 for 3 2x4s, and that was crazy. So
So if anybody has any ideas, certainly send them my way.
Hey, Jamie, does Lincoln Oaks have fruit trees for sale? Or not for sale, for donation?
I don't know. That's a good question. The soil conservation, I could
Most of
ask.
theirs are you looking for bigger ones, Fame?
We're looking for anything really at this point. We had gotten some bara trees and some shrubs early on in the year, last year, and that was when those are the ones that had gotten all chomped off. We unfortunately didn't get any of the tree like protecting things that we should have gotten. And our local tree shed donated a bunch of fruit, etc., to put to kind of in the background.
That's the Grand Forks Soil Conservation District, maybe?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the one that I talked to. I don't know if they have
USDA.
Yeah.
They would be where you would probably contact to get anything from our Lincoln Oaks, the USDA and the Lincoln Oaks Nursery there through the Soil Conservation District. They're really good to work with there in Grand Forks. I'm sure Kevin and his crew would help as much as they could, but most of those are going to be conservation grades. They're going to be pretty small bare roots.
Tiny ones, yeah. They all are pretty tiny.
Yeah, now's not the time to be planting bare root either. So
No.
So.
So, and then I had went up to Pembina County. Usually has really good trees up there too. And a lot of what they had at the end of their like bare root season, they put a lot in pots, honestly. And so I don't know if anyone else does that. If there are ways to continue to grow them throughout the season before they were done with these. I don't know if they were waiting for someone to pick those up or what the circumstance was with those, but yeah, they usually have a ton more than Grand Forks does, so I go up there as well.
Yeah, most of the soil conservation districts try not to compete if they have a local nursery in their county. That's kind of a unwritten rule that the soil conservation districts have. So if it's Grand Forks County, you're probably not going to get a lot of the larger tree stock from them for berries and fruits, but Pembina County, I don't think has a nursery other than just through the soil conservation district. So sometimes they're able to access other markets to be able to sell both type of berry and apple and fruit trees.
Sumac, they have some cool sumac up there too. I don't want to forget that. Yeah.
Hey, Fame, just a quick question. Don't want to totally monopolize everything here with you, but would your landscaper be willing to plant them if you found them? That's what I'm hearing, possibly.
That's what I'm waiting to hear back. Part of what that conversation was with that woman was whether or not they'd be able to get them in the ground, and I'm waiting to hear back from her to find out what their options for that are going to be. Otherwise, I'm going to have to scramble to see if there's someone we can get to dig holes or whatever. Like I was saying before, that was part of that educational component. NDCU Extension up here, their horticulturist was going to come on site and do like a tree planting with us. And then everything kind of went haywire. So that's part of what fell apart. So there was going to be a group of people. And the thing is, we've partnered with a guy from University of Minnesota that does like horticultural and landscaping classes, and he actually wanted to help us get things planned out a little bit, but he goes on like retreat all summer, so he was gone for quite a bit of time too. And the classes that he would want to bring in to help us with that are actually early spring classes. So unfortunately, this is a timeline that didn't work out.
Nope, in 2020. In 2020 is what 2020 is, unfortunately, for a lot of these projects like this. So, but yeah, I'll make some phone calls, Fame, see if I can find some trees for you. that's the least I can do to try to get these in the ground. Because like I said, I hate to see you turn money back, as we talked about before. Is, you know, if we can find a good use for this, let's get them in the ground, and then they'll be of benefit for many years to come. So anyways, sorry, we're monopolizing the conversation here. I will shut up and put my phone back on mute.
Well, I'm happy to see NDLFDA members using this time to connect to further local foods projects. So that's what it's all about. So hopefully that will be a no pun intended, fruitful conversation for Fame and Craig. But it is 2:56. So very briefly, this is not so much a now thing, but an email me if you have comments sort of thing. As I said, one of the things that we have grant funds for is to create a new website. And so I will have a conversation with the board about how we go about, you know, who we hire to do that. And in the meantime, just to start your thought processes, I'd like you to think about what you would like from a website. Are you liking the member update system that we're currently using with the Google form, and then it goes to another Google Doc where you can read it? Would you like other communications tools, you know, like a listserv, or what, you know, what sort? Maybe you've seen something in another group that you're a part of that you would really like us to incorporate. So later in the year, we'll have a more formal process to get your feedback before we start the website development. But for now, I'm just asking you to start thinking about it. And then we do have some member updates, and I moved them from the form over to this document about an hour before the meeting. So if you submitted your update after about 1 o'clock, it might not show up here. So Karen, actually Karen, I'm going to let you share, because you've got a lot of really good stuff here about September being Hunger Action Month.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Stephanie. I think everyone can read, and that's why I put that out there so that people can look at it at their leisure, just to remind folks that it is Hunger Action Month, a month during the year when we do try to draw attention. This year being particularly important to call attention to post-COVID economic impacts on people's lives and their ability to access food. Thank you.
Great. And I for one, will try to share some of this through Farm's social media accounts to help get the word out about hunger before September is over. Megan shared an update about the Building Resilient Farm Country project that Strengthen ND is working on. And then I wanted to let everyone know that we have an opportunity on 6 p.m. this coming Monday to learn about vendor recruitment for farmers markets. We will have a vendor panel of several farmers market vendors talking about why farmers markets matter and how they are beneficial to farmers and customers alike. Any updates that I missed, or information anyone wants to share before the meeting is over?
Hey, Stephanie.
Yes.
This is Jamie. I know I sent an email out, but I just thought I would reiterate, because I've been asked to keep getting the word out that our grants that we had for the charitable feeding organizations and small town grocers is now officially closed. We received we met our goal or exceeded the amount of money that we had to give out. So we have closed those. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And secondly, thank all of you that did a part in spreading the word, talking to folks, and encouraging people to apply so we could meet that, get those grants out the door. So just to kind of let everybody know for a timeline, doing some final reviewing this week. Hopefully by the end of the week, next week, all the applicants that applied will be getting a notification, in one way or the other. So that's going to happen. So just thought I'd throw that out there for everybody. So.
Jamie, this is Karen, and I think it would be really helpful to, if it is possible, if a public list were going out sharing who received the funds and what they're being used for in building up our food infrastructure across the state, it would be appreciated and helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I will see what I can do since I'm not the main person in charge of that. I can certainly pass that comment along. So.
Thank you for that update, Jamie. I'm glad you spoke up because I was going to ask you about that program and how that went. So glad to hear that it was well received. Any final comments? Thank you all for joining us today. I will make sure that any other updates that are received get posted to the member updates Google Doc, so you can check in on that. And I will try to actually get the recording posted later today instead of waiting a month. So thank you all. Oh, and be on the lookout for an email about the AmeriCorps position. Let's find somebody awesome. So let's get the word out about that.